Okay. What the hey? We're live. Teal Tuesday. It is Tuesday, 57 degrees in the morning in Jacksonville. Boy, Monday night, some very light mist and drizzle. I think we're looking at about a 20% chance of rain. Probably more like light drizzle and mist, light rain. That's about it. If we get some more, got some late Monday night around the west side of Jacksonville, Florida, Riverside area. So it's Till Tuesday, and we're going to talk about the Jags for a moment or two, the Super Bowl game that's just concluded. And let's get to it. I wanted to hit the stats up. The game was, it was over in the third quarter in my mind. I tuned in the game. It's 24 to nothing Philadelphia. Philadelphia adds a field goal. It's 27 to nothing. Hurts has a good game, but even the more important and key issue was the pressure on Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to take a look at some of the game stats. Again, the Philadelphia Eagles 40, the Kansas City Chiefs 22. We will pull up some of the game stats to look at right now. Again, the final score, Philadelphia Eagles 40, Kansas City Chiefs 22. Is it a long season or what? The Philadelphia Eagles regular season record was 14-3. The Chiefs were 15-2. Two great teams who both won a lot of games in the regular season. So we'll take a look at some stats of kind of how things went on. The pressure that was brought by the Eagles defensive line, played by the Eagles defense, really made Patrick Mahomes somewhat of a shadow of what he normally is. Mahomes, though, got a couple of, he got some touchdowns at the end of the ball game that, when you think about it, that's good. But then again, it didn't have anything to do with the outcome of the game because the Eagles had already, built an insurmountable lead. They had a 24-0 lead. The game was really over when it was 24-0 because the Chiefs ended up with 22 points. Eagles continued to score some. Jalen Hurts with a really, really good game. Patrick Mahomes, his stats got a little better later in the game when he completed some passes and, Patrick Mahomes ended up with 3 touchdown passes. But he also had 2 big interceptions in the game, quarterback rating of 95.4 and 21 of 32, 257 yards. And Mahomes got a good chunk of that late in the game. Shall we say garbage time? Patrick Mahomes, 4 carries, 25 yards in the game. And the Kansas City rushing game was really non-existent. Kareem Hunt, 3 carries, 9 yards. Maybe they should have given it to P. Ryan more often. 1 carry, 8 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 3 carries, 7 yards. As a team, Mahomes got 25 yards rushing. They only got 49 yards rushing as a team. Xavier Worthy, couple of touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins caught a touchdown pass for Kansas City. I barely knew that DeAndre was on the team. He was on the team, played in the Super Bowl. So we see that Mahomes had some problems. Basically, he had 2 interceptions in the game, got most of the yardage late in the game, and almost what you would call garbage time. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, 17 of 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jalen Hurts was actually named the MVP of the Super Bowl. Congratulations to Jalen Hurts. The game was so much in control that Jalen Hurts was able to actually exit the game, and backup quarterback Kenny Pickett can tell his family and friends, I got into the Super Bowl and I'm going to get a ring. Jalen Hurts, by the way, his rating was 119.7, QBR 75.4. But now listen to this. This is the other end of the coin. Jalen Hurts, 11 carries, 72 yards. Saquon Barkley got some tough yards, but not a lot of yards. 25 carries, 57 yards. And you take a look at the receiving numbers. Devontae Smith was one heck of a catch in the end zone. The former Alabama product, I believe, had a touchdown catch. A.J. Brown caught a touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts as well. And those were key plays. The pressure, though, that was the key. And it really was. Kansas City sacked Jalen Hurts, 2 sacks for 11 yards. And I was thinking it was 5 sacks. At some point in time in the fourth quarter, there was no fifth quarter except for the celebration. I was thinking there were 5. I think I mentioned it in the last podcast. I thought it was 5 sacks by the Eagles defense. It was actually 6 sacks for 31 yards. Patrick Mahomes QBR 11.4, his rating 95.4. But Patrick Mahomes looked at best average throughout most of the game. At best, he did play well when the game was really out of hand. Got a couple of touchdowns. Chiefs got a couple of touchdowns at the end. Final score: Philadelphia Eagles 40, Kansas City Chiefs 22. So the big key, the big stat had to be the Eagles defensive line, and the Eagles defense getting 6 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. And it was more than that. It was hurries, pressures, but officially in the book, 6 sacks for the Philadelphia Eagles defense against Patrick Mahomes. He was rushed to do what he likes to do, throw the football down the field. And the Eagles, rushed him, made his job uncomfortable, and sacked him 6 times. And the Philadelphia Eagles are the world champions of NFL football. In Super Bowl 59, Philadelphia Eagles with a win, 40-22. Eagles defense with 6 sacks. And how can we equate this to the Jacksonville Jaguars? That defense, particularly the first 3.5 quarters of the game, is how you got to play the game if you're going to play championship winning football, and your defense is basically going to win the game for you. Your offense plays well, doesn't hurt you. The Eagles' offense played well, not dynamic or super. I mean, Jalen Hurts made a couple of really good throws, and he made some good runs. And I believe he was a Super Bowl MVP. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw a flash yesterday that Jalen Hurts was the Super Bowl MVP, the formerly at Alabama. And he played behind Tua, but played a lot of football. And didn't Jalen end up playing his last year of college ball, I think, in Oklahoma? I believe was Jalen that played in Oklahoma his last year. But most of his career he played in Alabama. The Alabama fans loved him for staying around as long as he did, playing behind Tua. So those were 2 great quarterbacks in one program. And now Jalen Hurts, baby, is a Super Bowl MVP. And I'm happy and proud for him. How does this equate to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Well, you see how a defense has got to play to have what we call championship football. I can go back and say, when Tom Brady lost the Super Bowls, the opposing teams, and there was a year when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with Denver, and they had to go through New England and knock them out. And their defense, the Denver defense, was pretty tough on the edge. And they had the pressure on Tom Brady in that particular game, and the Broncos beat them. That was the way to beating Tom Brady, because Tom Brady didn't get beat that often. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes, because you're talking about a guy and the Chiefs that have won 2 Super Bowls. They got stars: Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, a great coach, Andy Reid, and they did not have an answer for the extremely good and pressurizing defense of the Philadelphia Eagles, with 6 sacks on Patrick Mahomes, and it was more than that. The defensive backs played well, intercepting balls, deflecting balls. Patrick did show his talent really at the end of the game with, a couple of touchdowns, really in what you call garbage time late in the fourth quarter. The Eagles got the points over the over-under. And we did. Well, I didn't pick the Eagles. Actually, I picked the Eagles in the Facebook group right before the game kicked off, but our source liked the Eagles to win this game. So congratulations to our source. Teal Tuesday, covering the Jacksonville Jaguars from the Teal Shirt Report podcast from Big J Report, sponsored by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. The MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Prayers to Mad Max. He went through a surgery a little bit over a week ago. Seems like he's recovering nicely at home, but he needs a lot of rest. And hopefully he'll be feeling good and back on the show soon on the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Lake Uvalde Hits, as JC showed live from the pub on Thursday night, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. JC plays your request too. You go to the Lake Uvalde Hits, LakeUvaldeHits.com site. And there's a little chat box where you can send your request to JC. I have a request on. You can get your request on too. So, I kinds of things in the Facebook group. I saw something from Clutch Points. I don't know much about Clutch Points, but they say something to the effect of Trayvon Walker's not worried about a contract extension right now. Well, he's going into his fourth year, which is kind of a contract year. I don't see Trayvon signed anytime soon. Maybe he has a great fourth year and they re-sign him. I think that could happen. I mean, he's had decent years. He's had 10 sacks, 10 and a half sacks, but we need to see more havoc from Trayvon and the entire defense, especially guys that were drafted in the first round, because some of the defensive backs that were later picks in the draft have actually outperformed where they were drafted. A guy like Buster Brown, Antonio Johnson, who may have been a steal in the fifth round a couple of years ago by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that was probably one of Trent Baalke's better picks, along with the flashy wide receiver, the first round selection, Brian Thomas Jr. with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But overall, Trent Baalke couldn't get it done. He was eventually fired when the Jags tried to hire a couple of coaches, and they basically turned him down. And then finally, the second guy that turned him down, they reconnected with him and brought him back at Liam Cohen. The defense, what's the key to the defense? Well, scheme is part of it. And John Gaylor may tell me a huge or big part of it. I think effort is probably more of a part of it. And I think it's up to this new defensive coordinator for the Jaguars, Campanelli, to bring out however it takes, set it up, get the team enthusiastic about the defense, and get them enthusiastic about playing the game at 100%, 110%. Have you heard that before? The Jaguars have got to give an effort like the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. It's tough every game in and game out, but I think the Jaguars defensive players, they've got a lot of potential. On the offensive side of the ball, you better go get some offensive linemen in the draft, at least one highly drafted offensive tackle and a highly drafted offensive guard. Jags also need help on the defensive line at defensive tackle. I think Trayvon Walker could be moved inside and beef up and get stronger. He's already a pretty quick guy for his size. I think they need to move him inside. Eric Armstead's already said he wants to move inside more because he was only playing, like inside, like, what was it, 39% of the plays? Because I guess he was playing the big end, the other part of the time. So there were some, if not schematic issues, how the players were being used. Plus, the Jaguars need more effort out of the players. Were the players disenchanted with the scheme? That could have been part of it. But I think either way, no matter what scheme you're playing, the effort needs to be there on defense. Offense, again, as I mentioned, you better draft some offensive linemen. I think the first two draft picks should be offensive linemen. O tackle, O guard. Then you need a defensive tackle and probably another cornerback. There's a lot of draft picks. I think John Gaylor said the Jags got as many as 10 draft picks. So later in the draft, you can sprinkle in your skilled players and maybe even a third offensive lineman somewhere in there. That's kind of how I see it. The Jags are supposed to hire a new GM, whether he's just a numbers cruncher guy or will he have as much power or even more? Probably not, but will he have as much power and say as Tony Baselli and the head coach who was hired before the GM, Liam Cohen? These questions remain to be answered, and it remains to be seen what happens. Every year, the teams get a report card. Last year's report card was not good because the Jacksonville Jaguars finished 4-13. In defensive quarterback Trevor Lawrence, he's been hurt the last 2 years. I'd say the majority of the year, both in 2024 and the 2023 regular season, especially down the stretch, in a stretch where the Jags went like 1-5 in 2023 when they got off to like an 8-3 start and could have made the playoffs. But Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback, a guy that signed a huge contract. Balky signed him to a huge contract even earlier than a lot of people thought they should have, but he's locked up unless you trade him. I think Trevor Lawrence going forward is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback for years to come, or a few years to come. But he's got to protect the ball better. He's got some weapons. Brian Thomas Jr. is clearly the number one wide receiver on this team now. Got to get some of the other receivers healthy and back in there to see what they can do. And the offensive line has got to give a bigger push for like Tank Bigsby. And if Travis Etienne, I'm assuming he returns for his 5th year because the Jaguars do have a 5th-year option on Travis Etienne, number one, the running back. And, of course, Tank Bigsby is going to be a big part of this offense too. But the offensive line, the Jags need to beef up the offensive line, get a couple of guys high in the draft on really high draft picks that actually have talent, potential, and you got them on a rookie deal like you do Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr., what a great season, over 1,200 yards receiving, one of the top rookie offensive players in the league as a rookie in the 2024 season. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast and Teal Tuesday. We're about 17 minutes in. Special thanks to our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital. The sponsors are on the ticker here during Teal Tuesday. Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. The madmaxmix.weebly.com. Prayers to Max, who just came out of surgery a little bit over a week ago. He's resting at home, and hopefully he'll be feeling well enough to host his show here in the coming weeks. And Mr. JC, our executive producer, also hosts a show called, it's on Lake Eufaula Hits, lakeeufallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. JC has his show. It's live from the pub with JC on Thursday nights, beginning at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time at lakeeufallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Special thanks to our executive producer, JC. Also, Alex Nunry. Boy, in college basketball, the big one, JU versus UNF, is coming up on February the 20th. They call that the River City Rumble. Florida Gators basketball team coming off a huge win at Auburn. Florida, man, they're having a great year in college basketball under head coach Todd Golden. The Icemen continue to play well. Robin Trower is going to be at concert in Northeast Florida. You can check the concerts at bigjreport.com in the Neighbors 2 section. Foreigner, Chicago, Gladys Knight, Robin Trower, all coming to Northeast Florida. And we've got concerts up for North Florida and surrounding areas at bigjreport.com in our Neighbors 2 section. We dare check on the Icemen. 6 sacks by the Eagles defense. That basically says it all in the Super Bowl, right? Philadelphia Eagles 40, Kansas City Chiefs 22 on Super Sunday February 9th of 2025. Jacksonville Iceman Hockey. The East Coast Hockey League standings. Let's pull them up. I think we did in the last podcast, but we'll do it again. The Icemen having a great year. A lot of February games coming up at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena for you to see right here in Jacksonville, Florida at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Jacksonville Icemen in a virtual tie for third place in the Southern Division of the East Coast Hockey League. They're tied with Orlando at 59 points, and they're tied for second with 59 points. South Carolina's got 59 total points, Jacksonville 59, and the Orlando Solar Bears 59. The Florida Everblades lead the Southern Division with 68 total points. The Jacksonville Icemen having a great year, 28 wins, 16 losses, and 2 overtime losses. So the Jacksonville Icemen are 28, 16, and 2. So a little bit of North Florida entertainment. It's a great, I'm going to tell you, Jacksonville Iceman Hockey. Jacksonville Iceman Hockey is a great family value where you can get a ticket to an Iceman game for less than $20 or around or more than $20. Great place to take your family. If you've never seen a hockey game live and in person, it's a lot better in person. It's one of those sports where you can watch everything, not only the puck, but you can watch everything going on around the ice, around the game, learn the game. And we got a great team in Jacksonville. As I told you, they got a great record. As you know, right now, I mentioned the Icemen's record, and I'll mention them again. The Jacksonville Icemen, their current record, 28. Let's see, the Jacksonville Icemen are 28, 16, and 2. 28, 16, and 2 in the Southern Division of the East Coast Hockey League. That's going to do it for Till Tuesday. Our sponsors are on the ticker, Salsa Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. And, of course, JC's live from the pub show on Thursday nights at LakeUvalleHits.com. Great internet radio where it's absolutely all good. This has been Till Tuesday. Where does everything go from here? Jags got a new head coach in Liam Cohen. Time will tell. The draft will be huge in late April of 2025. Tony Baselli, now the executive vice president of football operations for the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though there will be apparently sometime this month in February, a new GM will be hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll follow it all right here on Teal Tuesday and the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening in. This has been a live stream, Teal Tuesday, right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast from BigJReport.com. Thank you. Special thanks to John Gaylor. John Gaylor does a really good job with us, our contributor and correspondent to the Teal Shirt Report podcast and BigJReport.com. And again, a special thanks to our producers, our executive producer, JC. And special thanks to the coffee boy, bringing me the coffee in the morning here. And special thanks to Alex Nunnery, another one of our producers. And again, John Gaylor, thank you very much for being a contributor and correspondent to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. This has been the Teal Shirt Report podcast and Teal Tuesday. You guys have a great day. Go Jags. Duval.